Welcome back to Light the Fuse, a podcast that, much like Tom Cruise, will not quit. Charles, how you doing?
I feel great, Drew. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's a little hot over here in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, Hollyweird. But you know what? That's nothing compared to what Tom Cruise puts himself through for our entertainment. So I'm just going to keep that in mind, you know.
Yeah, you've got to.
You got to. Do you have anything to discuss at the top of the show, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, actually I do. There was something quickly, we talked about, we were speculating in our Tom Peitzman episodes about what a VFX producer does versus a VFX supervisor. And actually, past guest Evan Schiff, editor extraordinaire, he was, associate editor on Ghost Protocol, and he edited 2 of the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, he chimed in on Twitter and responded about, he heard the episode, I guess, and he responded and said to our tweet about the episode, he said, "Oh, by the way, a VFX producer handles budgets and vendor contracts and money matters. VFX supervisors handle creative direction." So that was kind of what I was thinking it was.
There we go.
So
there we go.
We got some clarity there from Evan Schiff. Thank you, Evan, for doing that. We knew someone would chime in and give us the info, and so we just wanted to share that with you. I also wanted to point out the chips, the Mission Impossible chips that we were told about.
Oh, of course, yeah, crisps. I think they would call them overseas, but yes, go ahead.
Yes, crisps. Simon Messenger, actually one of our Patreon subscribers, found another variation of the Mission Impossible chips, Walker's Max Strong Fiery Prawn Cocktail. And it says they are perfect with beer. That's what it says on the front. And Simon tweeted, "Found this intimidating flavor at Tesco. Bet Scuba Luther eats them for breakfast."
Wow. And then didn't Christina found them too?
I believe so, yeah. So, all of you out there who are finding, please send us pictures if you find other flavors. We'll post this one in the show notes. This one's got Ethan kind of hanging off the cliff, sort of like the beginning of MI2 is what it looks like to me.
Love that. Absolutely love that.
But of course, without Tom Cruise's likeness.
Of course. I mean, that goes without saying, yes.
But I just thought that was a crucial thing I had to share. And that's it. That's all I've got. We can get into the episode, or you should do your favorite part of the episode.
I know. I've got to get my shout outs first. That this episode is brought to you by Jeremy Dillon and his podcast, My Favorite Album. And recently he had a very special guest on there, Charles, none other than Eddie Hamilton. So we suggest everybody go listen to that episode and the rest of his great podcasts. This episode is also brought to you by John B., and as well as Elvis Ripley. And do I have one more, Charles?
Yeah, you got another person. It's Suchet, right? This episode's brought to you by Suchet as well.
This episode is also brought to you by Suchet. Thank you, Charles. Isn't it fun doing this at the top of the show?
I know. It's I see why it's your favorite part.
Yeah. So we have to thank them for making the show possible, and we'll be back after.
Hey, we haven't even talked about who's on the show.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, who is on the show, Charles? Tell people. This is somebody we've been chasing for years. So, yeah, yes. Tell us who this is.
Garvin Cross. He's a stunt performer has been around in the business for a couple decades, 3 decades, I guess now. Someone pointed him out to me, I think, on Twitter years ago and was like, you should talk to this guy because not only is he in Ghost Protocol, but he also was in Rumble in the Bronx, the Jackie Chan movie. And, of course, I asked him all about that. And so we do get into that a little bit this week. But of course, we talked mostly about Mission, I think, this week, and he said he was the stunt double for Jeremy Renner in Ghost Protocol. So he has some fun stories about that, and a good inside look at the making of the movie a bit there in Vancouver. He's Canadian, and so he's been involved in a lot of Canadian Hollywood productions over the years, and
also is very nice and Canadian.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the stereotype was proven correct in this case. He's extremely nice and was a wonderful guest, and we love talking to him. So we got him this week and next. This is part 1. So I guess check it out, and we'll be back afterwards to break it down. And yeah, we hope you enjoy it.
Thanks. We're with Garvin Cross. We've been hounding you for how long? How long has Charles been stalking you?
At least 2 years. At least.
2 years.
And I apologize immensely that I haven't been that good of a boy.
No, I mean, you're out there. You're making stuff happen. Do you want to talk about... So you were on Ghost Protocol, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And what was your official title?
I was stunt doubling Jeremy Renner.
Oh, okay.
That's fun.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was painful, to be honest.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, we were doing the floating. You know how he had the magnetic suit and he was floating through the whole mechanism to get through to the center of the console?
Of course.
Yeah.
And, well, unfortunately, we have no floating suits available at this time. So it was all in wires, hanging in wires on my wrists, on my elbows, on my arms, my knees, my back, my hips, my feet, and floating. And then sometimes I'd have to light it for a bit. So it'd be pretty difficult for them to pull me down sometimes. So you'd be up there for like 45 minutes and it was, your body's starting to fall asleep on you. Not a good time to be.
So wait, you had wires connecting to all the different parts of your body, like a whole bunch of different wires?
Yeah, it was like the hanging, floating puppet.
Charles could have sworn that you were really floating. So this is.
They fooled us.
I figured it would be like the first Mission Impossible where they have one wire and you're just kind of, waving your arms around or something. But they actually had wires on different parts of your body. That's crazy.
Yeah, because I was flying horizontal, right? So it was like, you just couldn't do that,
Wow.
And it was through, and they had built that whole that stage was a whole set that had you floating through a skinny little area and up and up, it looked like parts of the mechanism and then the big fan inside the center area that was, to blow Jeremy up that big tunnel.
Right.
Up to the floor so he could reach that floor and get out of there. And of course that was done with, ratchets and things like that later, but the first 4, 5, 6 days was just floating in there, hanging. And your body weight, it's quite intense, actually. It was quite interesting. Jeremy did not want to do that. I don't blame him. By the way, I didn't want to do that either, but no, that's...
Was there a possibility of him doing it? And he was like, you know what, Garvin, come on in.
That's basically what it was. I'm going to go for a drink. See you later, Garvin. Thank you very much.
Right. Well, there's one aspect of the stunt work on Ghost Protocol that we're obsessed with. It's very specific. It's very niche. Mm-hmm. There was a snow sequence that was being planned for that movie. Do you remember this at all? Were you involved in these conversations?
I wasn't involved with that at all. Yeah. No, I was involved with I was going to be involved with the dust sequence a bit and go to Dubai. And at the last minute, they didn't fly me to Dubai, but we shot that sequence where he's sliding down the windows and then he comes into the building. He's hanging there and I grab his leg, or Jeremy grabs his leg. But, at that point, it was quite, a serious little gag. So I had to grab his leg and then he comes into the building.
Was that in Canada?
We shot that on stage, yeah.
Okay.
They were going to shoot part of that outside in Dubai, and unfortunately, I would have loved to have gone there. And that was Tom going down the building. I talked to Casey, his stunt double. That was Tom, man.
He could do it all.
Casey, Tom's stunt double, the man with nothing to do.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, such a good. And he went out in that dust storm with the SUVs and got hit. He did a car hit there, which was a crazy gag. It was an amazing stunt. I actually, luckily, got that day, I doubled Tom on set, on stage, where they were fighting for in that car park, in that sort of almost like a Japanese-looking car park.
Yeah.
And the silver briefcase goes over, and he jumps in the BMW and drives over. And that was a big roller coaster, basically, that I got to ride with the car.
So that was you. That was not Tom.
No, he went into it as well. Don't get me. But over my shoulder, I tested
not
it,
to be
and then
outdone.
over my. Yeah, exactly. And
Watch
then over
yourself,
my
Charles.
shoulder, they shot my portion, and then from the hood they mounted. And then I tested it for him and everything, and he went in and he said, "How was it?" And I said, "Oh, you're gonna have fun." And then he jumped out and he just laughed. He said, "Yeah, that was quite exciting."
That's what it seems like. It kind of for Tom, it's like the stunt men are used to sort of run it through first before he does it. Is that kind of what you saw?
Definitely, yeah. And then Greg, who was amazing stunt coordinator on that one, was really good with Tom, and they'd worked together a few times. And he would always say, "Okay, Tom, no, this one's not for you." Like do all the ones. But Tom, man, he's great. I commend him immensely. Yeah.
Were there any stories, other like any? We love good Tom Cruise stories. Was there anything that happened on set that you saw that was a fun?
Well, what I got in the car, so we're gonna flip that limousine, and I got in the car to do that gag with him, but it was on a gimbal on set, so we had the car raised up about 12 feet in the air.
Is this when when it's Renner in the car, right? It's supposed to be they get on the bridge, they get knocked off the bridge. Is that what you're talking about? That
Yeah, exactly. And so they shot that one portion in the studio, and I'm doing it with Casey. I think that was Casey at that point. Yeah, it was. And we're doing the tumble with the gimbal, and it flips, like it actually barrel rolls. So we're barrel rolling this car to see how much we can put Tom in there, and
right.
And then Tom comes onto the stage and looks around and goes, "Yeah, I want to get in there." So he gets in, and I'm in there, and I'm belted in with a belt and with another belay line to the harness points that the special effects had welded in, and it's maybe and the window's down, by the way, at that point. And here we are. Tom gets in and goes, "Oh yeah, this is cool." But we hook. So Casey and Greg make sure Tom's safe, and I'm sitting directly across from him in the limo, and I'm like, "Okay, don't kick him in the head with my foot," as we're flipping over, as I'm thinking in my mind. And we do a barrel roll, and because we're moving around, there's all this stuff in there. We're flipping upside down, and there's a briefcase in there, and it's tied down, but it's still flipping through the air, and some other stuff. And then Tom looks over at Greg and says, "Hey, I want to get rid of these things, these belts." And Greg sort of looks up and goes, "That's not a really good idea, Tom. You might go out the window." "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. But I want to make it longer." And then so we extend them, and all I'm thinking again in my head is, "Oh, don't kick him with your knee in the head, Garvin. Do not do that." So that was my experience with Tom. He was definitely a team player.
So you didn't kick him in the head then, right?
No, thank God.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, thank God.
Phew.
Yeah. Whew. Career over right then.
Yeah. The guy who kneed Tom Cruise in the head and broke his nose.
So that gimbal, so that was in Vancouver. Is that on a soundstage? Is it over a tank of water? You have a gimbal of a car?
No, that one wasn't. It was just over green screen, so they could paint in the water for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and the water was a different sequence. But that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what else? What were other sequences that you worked on in Vancouver there?
Those were two sort of the bigger ones, and then there was a little fight thing with him and Jeremy, which was small. Jeremy did a lot of that. What else did we do?
Did you get to dress up as a goon or anything and get or were you just
strictly
unfortunately Renner's stunt double?
I was strictly Renner's double. Oh no, sorry, I did. Oh my God, I'm just having a brain fart. Who's the English actor?
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg. I doubled Simon in a car down in the big Chinese town sequence. So that was great. He was lovely. Simon was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what sequence that was.
There was that Indian sequence with the cars running through it was just a small little sequence there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, but the big sequence was that Jeremy, for me, was quite big, because then they had built these shafts that were the tunnels where the fan blew him up. And of course we had to have him tumbling in there. And so we were trying to figure it all out. It wasn't Jeremy tumbling in there, myself, but without breaking my neck, because it was like, again, kind of wired different positions, and it wasn't a huge circumference in there. It was only maybe 12 feet. And so you had to be careful. And I think Dan Bradley actually in the end sort of thought I was tough, at least a little bit, because I broke the set a few times with my elbow, my foot, my knee, because they had this board all around it, and I put my foot through it, my leg, and I didn't say anything. I was just kind of like, nope, I'm going to suck it up here. And,
Wait, so Dan Bradley, and there's also Greg
Smears. Dan Bradley was the second unit director.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we're hoping to get both of those guys at some point on the show.
That'd be good. Greg would be awesome to talk to, and Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Bird?
Oh, it was great. I didn't have that much interaction, to be honest. I think in the stunt world, we sort of keep ourselves reserved to whatever's going on, and sometimes you strike up a good relationship with some of them, but he was great from what I saw. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you worked with him again, so you must have left some impression.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Drew can't go an interview without asking about if someone's worked on Tomorrowland.
We got to know everything about Tomorrowland.
I mean, mine was Tomorrowland. Mine was basically I was driving the little golf carts and a few other little things that weren't that huge, So.
Oh, for the World's Fair sequence?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was funny because we had a few of the stunt guys, and it was like, hey, because I had driven I drove the car in a stunt sequence on Tomorrowland, and but that was just a small little thing. Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, let's keep it safe. We have lots of people walking around.
Does you being Canadian and a stunt person mean that you really do recede into the background because you are so inherently nice to begin with?
Yeah, we're too polite.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'll just step behind here. Sorry, I'll go behind the extra over there.
I knew it.
The only my ex-wife was English, and so when I'd go over there, we'd go to a grocery store, and the only place I ever saw anyone say sorry more were the English. They'd be coming around the corner with a shopping cart, and you'd be coming around first. You'd almost knock them over, and they go, sorry. And, sorry, get the hell out of the way is basically what I felt from them. But, sorry. It's a good Daniel Craig story, though, if you want to hear that one.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
So I did go over for an interview for Casino Royale, and it didn't work out. It was just a wage thing and a few other things, but we won't go there. But so we decide the next year we're gonna go over and go to see her parents and do Christmas and that. And Casino Royale was coming out, but we were already booked to go to a theater show at the London Theater. So we're going to a show, and we got great seats. We'd bought them last minute, and we had these balcony seats. It was like awesome. And so we go and we get in there, and we're looking around. And as I'm sitting, there's about 4 or 5 people from this row looking up, and there's over in this row. And I'm going, oh no, here it is. And this woman turns around and goes, I know who you are. And I'm thinking to myself, no, you don't. But, I'm thinking Daniel Craig, and it's kind of shadowy in the balcony. And so we watch this show. And then as we're leaving, a few people are like, oh, we love your work. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful movie. And I'm just, don't say anything. And I start to creep into the shadows because my wife has to go to the washroom. And I say, okay, I'll just wait. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get into the shadows. Polite Canadian again. But to not bring attention. Of course, that brought more attention as people are going by. Oh, loved your movie. And then we went down to the cafe restaurant down below in the theater, and the guy and the waiter comes over and he goes, oh my God. And then I say something, he goes, you're not Daniel Craig. And just walked away.
You do look just like him. You'd be a great double for him.
Yeah, I did double him between one of the Bond movies I did. It was Dream House.
Oh, yes. Who could forget Dream House? Yeah.
It's forgettable, though. But it was actually, it was a wonderful experience. It was, a great director who directed My Left Foot.
Jim Sheridan, right?
Yeah, Jim Sheridan. And Zooey Deschanel's father as the director of photography.
Caleb, of course.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, great. You know your people.
Caleb definitely has made a name for himself. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody refer to him as Zoe's dad.
Yeah, but isn't he? He was, just gracious, just super wonderful Hollywood, nice people.
Yeah.
And Jim Sheridan was hilarious, just a little Irish man, and just wonderful. And it was a great experience because there was Rachel Weisz, and there was Naomi Watts, and Daniel, and a few other amazing actors.
Yes, certainly changed Daniel's life, right? Because
it did.
He met
yes.
her.
Yeah. Is that where he met Rachel Weisz?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's. I didn't know what was going on. I don't think anyone really did, but yeah, it was a nice thing for them.
Well, we didn't really ask you what your Mission Impossible sort of relationship was before joining the movies. Did you watch the 60s show? Did you watch the 80s show?
For sure, the 80s, more the 80s. And I saw, when I was a kid, I was between soccer, I was, saw the ones, because I'm obviously older. But yeah, it was cool. I was super happy. I mean, really nice experience. I found Tom Cruise, to be an amazing professional. He was there on set first. He was polite to the crew. He knew his lines. He knew his marks, so it was just like he was a machine, so that was pretty cool to me. I was just like, okay, there's something to be learned here, about professionalism, and everybody was great. It was a hardworking machine. It was really, laid out. It was exciting because you were on one of the franchises, big movie. Yeah.
How many weeks were you on it? Because that was the end of the production, right? They must have been a well-oiled machine by then when they got to Vancouver, probably, right?
For sure. And they were picking up shots from other places, like I said, Dubai and that. So I think I might have been there a month. I think I'd sort of speckled. I was there for this full of 2 weeks, and then I was there for another few days here and a few days there. Yeah, which was great. And it's nice when you get that because you can connect with people too. You're not just connecting with those people that are right there in front of you, but you're with the ADs and with costumes and all that as well.
Wow. I mean, you must have. I mean, I'm assuming the stunt community is fairly tight knit. Had you heard about sort of what it was like to be on a Mission Impossible movie before you signed on to a Mission Impossible movie?
Not really, because one hadn't shot in Vancouver, but but it was great. Like people were. I mean, they were always great, and those are the bigger ones, right? When you have Tom Cruise, they're legendary, and when you get the big stars, it changes things, a little bit.
Can we ask you about the set in Vancouver of the Burj sort of facade, because we're very interested in this and how much of it was built and everything. So like when Tom is dangling out of that window, how high is he actually up in the studio?
Well, in the studio, he was still up 50 feet. It wasn't 45, 40 feet in there, and then Casey was there as well, so there was a crossover there. But not much was built, really. It was that front of the windows, and it was scaffolding and green screen. And so it looked, obviously a different perspective in the movie. But, for us, it was kind of a normal thing. Here we go, here we go. All the rigging was in the ceiling. Of course, rigging, some of that can be painted out. And, but it wasn't a lot, as much as you'd think. Amazing job.
Yeah.
Was that the same wall that they used to do pickups of him climbing too? Like, they...
I don't think so. No, I wasn't there for that.
So they also built a wall for that separately.
Yeah. And also, like I said to you earlier, the roller coaster, it was literally like a high-speed G-force roller coaster with the car mounted up the top of the studio. So I'm going to say that was close to 50 feet probably. And you're just sitting in this car and you're looking across the studio, where if you look down below, you see the craft service and you see, all the grip gear and the camera gear, and you're looking across the studio and it's dark out there. And then all of a sudden there's, okay, you're ready. And you got a 5-point harness underneath your suit. And that's like 3, 2, 1, boom. And you're out of there like a rocket. It was just because your perspective is straight across the ceiling. And all of a sudden it's like, wham. And you're just straight over as quick as you can go, and it sucks your stomach. You just whoa, and you drop, and you're landing about 4 feet above the concrete, and they've just got a piece of green screen on the floor, and you can see sort of people on top of their heads, obviously because they're off to the side, but it was a bit of a thrill. Yeah,
they always talk about a Mission Impossible roller coaster. That they already made one. They should just make that the Mission Impossible roller coaster.
Lucky, it was awesome. Yeah,
wow,
that would be great.
So lucky to get to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So is this the rig, the falling rig?
There it is. That is the rig. Look at that, huh?
Okay, cool. We'll put this in our show notes. It's a pretty impressive looking roller coaster.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, and then just the stopping mark was just kind of crazy, because all of a sudden you're looking at the ground, but you don't really,
Yeah.
I mean, where do you kind of rank this? You've done so many things. You started your career. Was your first movie Needful Things?
Pretty close. I mean, I was on a few low budget things.
Okay.
That you'd use as training ground. I remember, you're going to laugh, because the first one was I was on there getting paid probably nothing, and I don't know anything. And I've taken a few acting classes, and that was it. Just sort of a night class for 2 hours.
Right.
And I get there and they go, okay, you're going to dress up as this Italian mafia, young mafia guy. Okay, sure. Okay. And then they bring you onto set, but they put, what are they doing? They're putting these electric charges with condoms on there with fake blood in them. And I'm like, okay, sure. Okay. And then, okay, now we're going to give you the shotgun, and you're going to say this line. But earlier in the day, they told me I was going to say a line, and they gave me a line earlier, and all day long, I said it 1,000 times, because I was so nervous, right? Just like, I can't remember what the line was now, and so I get up and they go, "And action," and I don't think I remember a solid thing about it. But I remember I was laying on the ground with blood on me, and like, I think I'm going to take more acting lessons so I'm not so nervous. And then I became studying acting, and I got into the union. With the unions, you need 6 credits in Canada. I'm not sure how many in the States, but you need to have 6 union jobs to be in the union. So that's a bit of a conundrum, because you have to get hired as a union player. And so I got in, fortunately, as 3 stunt credits and 3 acting credits. And so I continued doing acting and stunting. And and then The Needful Things was the big, my big first movie a few years later with Ed Harris.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think it's really fun. And in the TV version where they
Yeah,
added
there you
in
go.
more stuff, that was really great when you would find that on TNT or something. But
Right.
I mean, where do you rank Mission Impossible in your continuum of jobs?
Definitely in the top 5, 6.
Wow. Okay.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you were up close and personal. How did Tom Cruise's hair look that close?
Real.
I mean,
It's real.
It's a good head of
That's
hair
real.
in that movie.
He's lucky man.
Yeah.
And you know what really interesting I found with him was I thought, obviously he loves to work and that's his mission in the world and mission possible. But, it was really cool. I watched and there was a guy that came up, tapped him on the shoulder, handed him a green shake. There was a certain time that he would step away, go have a nap. They had a gym there on in his room or in the, on the studio there for him. He's super, I'm sure I'm sure he's just by the hour got something, really knocked it out there.
God, what a guy. Sorry, Charles, I interrupted you. Were you going to ask something?
Oh, no, you're good. I just wanted to get back I wanted to show that photo and make sure that was the rig. That was all I was getting to. But I mean, I have so many questions about, because you've been in so many movies that I'd love to hear about. I mean, the big thing for me is that as I talk about on this show all the time, I am obsessed with Jackie Chan. And I have to say, like, Rumble in the Bronx, I can say absolutely changed my life when I saw that movie when I was 13 or 12, however old I was.
Glad to hear that.
And you're such a big part of that movie. I mean, you're not only stunts, but you're a prominent character in the movie as well, Angelo.
I was Angelo, yeah. That was pretty funny.
It's Rumble in Vancouver, obviously.
With the ocean and the mountains in the background.
Were you there? Because the story is that they were Stanley Tong, the director, and Jackie Chan were going out of their way to try to not film the mountains in the background because they were trying to make it look like the Bronx. And then at a certain point, Jackie just said, "Just forget it. Who cares about?"
Basically, give up. Yeah, I mean, and I know we would shoot different directions on certain days at the beginning, and then it changed. And I didn't know why it changed at the time.
So you were not privy to that fuck it moment.
No, it's just like, okay, we're not going to be rumbling. We're rumbling Vancouver. Yeah. But it was the movie that made him, a star in North America.
Yeah.
That changed his life as well. Not only yours and mine. Yeah.
What was that like working with him, with Jackie?
Well, it was wonderful. I mean, come on. There's a legend as well. And he's so professional, like on set. And it was really interesting because there's a lot of stories I could tell you. Probably waste a lot of your time.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah. Like when I first went, I'd studied more acting by then. I'd done a few years, and I was starting to think that I would be, this serious actor. And so I had a friend who he unfortunately died on The Crow. The stunt coordinator was my friend who got me involved, and I was doubling Malcolm McDowell on a small movie, and so that's how my hair was dyed blonde. And he said, "Hey, I want you to come and audition for this movie I'm doing with Jackie Chan." And I'm like, "What are you guys up to?" "Oh, it's just a small little part. It's like a couple days." And I said, "Okay, but they want me to go to LA and finish this little piece with Malcolm McDowell that I didn't get with the dogs. They want to shoot a little reshoot on that, and they haven't changed." "Okay, well, just let me know." And so the LA hadn't phoned, and I phoned them and said, "Okay, we got a day." And Mark said, "Okay, you got to make up your mind. You got to go to this audition now, and they're interested in you." I said, "Okay, I'll go to the audition." So I go to the audition, and I walk in, and Jackie's in there with Stanley, and I do my thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna be serious about this. And they go, no, we want you to be more crazy. We want you to be more crazy. And I'm like, well, underneath, I'm like, I'm just studying hard to be this real actor and grounded and not. "We want you to be crazier, over top. We want you to be no North American acting. We want you Chinese acting, over top." And I'm like, oh God. He said, "Go outside and come back in." So I go outside for about 10 minutes and I look at the script again and and I'm kind of pissed off and I'm like, okay, I'll just go in there and be silly, whatever. And I go in there and I'm with them. They were going two at a time, 2 actors at a time. My other friend was just a stunt guy. And so we go in there and he said something and I went, "I'm just going to be a cartoon." And I just went over and they go, "Yeah!" They're clapping and and I walk out of there and I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess I blew that one, or I'm not sure. And then my buddy calls me later in the afternoon, says, "You got the part. It's 6 days." And I go, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And then LA called and said, "We need you." And I go, "Well, I just got booked for 6 days, so I can't." "Oh, we waited for it. I said, no, actually, I waited for you guys, and I'm on the movie now with Jackie Chan, and I almost passed on it in that moment. I said, no, I waited, and I'm going to do it. They can find somebody else for a day in LA. Well, those 6 days turned into 77 days.
Did they just expand your role? Because I mean, obviously
Yeah, they
the
did.
part is way bigger than 6 days.
They just kept going and going. They were going to kill me off in a couple days, and they just liked me. And
It is. I mean, your performance. You really are like a live action cartoon in that movie. It is gloriously silly and so fun and
way over the top and fun. Yeah.
Did he ever punch you in the face accidentally? Did he actually ever land a punch?
No, he was so good. No, he was so good. He was
Because I think you have the I think you broke my nose like that.
Yeah, we did that about 20 times for different angles for other things, other reasons in there. So it could be kind of like a oneer for their master.
Yeah.
With all the other stuff going on. So yeah, what a great movie. That was a lot of fun. And we only got paid minimal,
Yeah. Did you get to dub yourself? Because I've only seen the dubbed version still. I still haven't seen the Chinese cut.
I actually did do some dubbing, and I don't know if they really ever used it or not, to be honest. And it's kind of funny because a few friends were just, we laughed about it. And there's some of it, I think, because the sound was so off and on in the show. We were in alleyways and it was noisy, and poor soundmen, at the time. So yeah.
And weren't they for the dialogue? Wasn't everybody speaking their own language? It was like there was no consistency at all.
Oh yeah, or just like it was kind of all over the map. It was kind of like a craziness, and they grab you and they'd say, hey Charles, what would you say in this situation? And you'd be on set like everything, and you'd go, well, hey Angela, what would you say? I'd say, wow, how about that? Good, roll camera.
Did they have a script, or was it just an outline?
It just kept changing. It was an outline. It just kept going and moving and shifting. And for the first few days, I was just exhausted because, one guy would grab you and he'd put you there and he'd say, okay, you say this. And then you'd walk away, and then someone else would move you 2 feet and they'd say, oh, say this. And you'd just be like, what's going on here? Yeah.
Wow. Was that part of like the JC stunt team? Were they the ones that were moving you around, or were they
more of the ADs? There was probably about 6 of them that I think they all just wanted to have a little bit of say in the movie. And,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty silly. But we played mega hours of hacky sack with him between takes.
With Jackie?
Yeah. And he told us all about the Chinese opera, how he used to fight Bruce Lee, because he was one of the bad guys in a lot of the fight scenes, and how he'd horse around on set. And I'm not sure if this evolved on set or not, but he, he wanted his own way to get recognized, and he would horse around and be comedy and go, Bruce Lee would stand, and Jackie Chan would punch someone and go, and joke around, and that's how he sort of got started.
Yeah.
And we're back. Charles, how you feeling after that Garvin Cross Part 1?
I feel great. It's awesome talking to him about all this stuff. I mean, it's great to have another stunt performer on the show. I feel like it's been a little while. I think we had a stunt coordinator on maybe a year ago or something. But, it's always great to have stunt performers on the show. It's just an awesome part of film, and obviously crucial to a franchise like Mission Impossible. And we have that photo of the rig that he talked about, the BMW falling in the car park. We'll have that in our show notes if you want to check it out at our website, LightTheFuse-podcast.com, in the episode guide. And there'll be other stuff there in the show notes as well. But I think you're right. It should be a roller coaster. That should be the Mission Impossible roller coaster. That'd be awesome.
We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
If we have to do it ourselves, just kind of like, kind of backwoods style.
Just a little DIY backwoods.
Mission Impossible, I think it would be
park.
great.
We'd do that.
Yeah. We won't charge that much.
Pop-up amusement park? Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he really does also look a lot like Daniel Craig. I was feeling that before he even started telling that story.
He does. I don't think enough that I would. Well, maybe if I was walking past him on the street, I would confuse him, especially if he was in London shooting something.
Yeah.
I think that would add to the mystique.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Listen, if I saw Garvin Cross walking down the street, I'd say, hey, can I have your photo? So I think that's enough.
Yes,
He's enough of a
true.
celebrity in my book.
And I can't believe he got to play hacky sack with Jackie Chan. I would love to watch. I would watch Jackie Chan play hacky sack for hours if I could. Have you ever seen the movie Dragon Lord?
No, I don't think so.
That's the one where they play this weird like hacky sack like sport where they're kicking this kind of little like badminton like shuttlecock thing around this, and there's two nets and they're playing. It's two teams against each other, and that's the one where he like I think has the record for most takes for a movie ever for his first shot. He did. There's like it's varies the like number that I've read, but I think it's over he did over 1,000 takes. Might have even been 2,000 takes to do this insane move where he kicked this like shuttlecock thing from like midfield and this thing into the net, and it's this crazy move that he did. But it's just that reminded me of the hacky sack. That
did you put that on your best of tape that you made for yourself?
Yes. Yes. Back in high school, when I was editing VHS to VHS, I had all my Jackie Chan bootlegs and all the other things that I had, and I made a little best of Jackie Chan video, which would be pretty good if it wasn't all full frame. You know, I would still, I feel like that'd be a pretty good thing to watch. But then DVDs came out, and you got to see them all in widescreen, and it was so much better because so many of his movies are shot anamorphic.
There you go.
But next week we got a couple more great Jackie Chan stories. And then we get into other parts of his career, like Inception, which he was a fun part of. He has a good story there with Christopher Nolan. The Nightmare production of The Predator, the one that Shane Black directed. He talks about that. Working on the John Woo movie, Paycheck. Of course, we always love to hear any stories about John Woo. And he also tells us in detail what it's like to be on fire, which he's done many times, including in The Revenant.
Yeah. And for a shot that none of us could even remember when there was someone on fire in the Revenant.
They basically he said they kind of minimized it to the point where he's just sort of walking by in the background on fire.
Wow.
Insane. So yeah, definitely come back for part 2. A lot of great stories that you still have to hear. And I've got to give a special thank you to Winston Riggs and Derek Klingel. Thank you to Winston and Derek. I also want to credit our music composer, Kevin Blumenfeld, and our mixer and editor, Luke Burson. And yeah, I want to encourage everybody to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/LightTheFuse. We do bonus episodes every week. We just did a fun episode about 90s movies adapted from 60s TV shows, since obviously our beloved Mission Impossible was adapted from a 1960s television show. We did a whole episode just about all the different, because there were so many. It's insane how many movies were made in the 90s from 60s TV shows. It was such a trend.
An odd, very specific trend that we go into in forensic detail on the Patreon. So, yes.
And most of them maybe not so great, but there are a few classics, I think, and one that we really go to bat for that probably we might lose some Patreon members over that one. We'll see. I haven't heard the reactions yet of what people thought of it, so we'll see if people are on board or not. And then we also did another episode. It was we each picked 5 underrated movies from the 90s, because IndieWire was doing a whole thing about 90s film or something, right? Is that what spawned that?
Yeah. They had like 90s week.
Yeah. So we each did a little list of our underrated movies from the 90s that we were recommending to people. So anyway, those were episodes we did on the Patreon. Sign up, patreon.com/LightTheFuse. And also check out our episode guide on our website, lightthefusepodcast.com, where you see show notes for all of our episodes. And then check the merch tab, and then you can buy stuff from our TeePublic store, shirts and masks and pins and magnets and stuff like that. What else, Drew?
Well, I want people to be sure to subscribe to our Instagram and Twitter at LightTheFusePod, and to like, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening to this podcast, and just tell people about it. You know, I feel like we got some notoriety with Mr. Cruz's episode, but, you know, we put out episodes every week, whether we like it or not. So please tell people that we're here, we're doing God's work, we're really exploring these movies to the best of our ability, and we need some more exposure. So please tell people about the show if you like it. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Right, Charles?
Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, just shut up if you don't like it. But if you do like it, tell as many people as you can. It's a big help to us. And we will be back next week with Garvin Cross Part 2.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcast@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.